Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Dr. Wilma van Staden, and I will just be discussing with you Module 2 of Amanzi for Food online course, and then also we can have a short session on the assignment 2. So first of all, I'm just going to go to the website, Amanzi for Food website. All right. So at the moment, you know that you don't have to log in to be able to access all the information and all the documents. But when you upload your assignment, you need to be logged in. So let's go to Module 2. So Module 2's overview says it's developing teaching and training and learning processes and curricula to promote and support WRC rainwater harvesting and conservation practices. Right, so in Module 2, the focus will be on developing teaching and learning processes and curricula to promote and support such practices. This module also reflects on how people learn and on the most appropriate ways in which the important information can be shared in both formal and informal educational trainings. So let's just look at what the module consists of. We have a training or teaching and learning for rainwater harvesting conservation practices and collaborative production demonstration site development. That is what it's all about. So we're going to look at learning approaches, the power of practical and collaborative productive demonstration site development. So for stream 1, the assignment 2 is review the rainwater harvesting and conservation practices in the Water Research Commission materials and describe how you could integrate some of them into your curriculum. Planning a productive demonstration site in your own context. And then for assignment 2, for stream 2, review the rainwater harvesting conservation practices in the Water Research Commission materials and describe how you could integrate some of them into your training program, planning a productive demonstration site on your own context. Right, so that's what we're going to do. If you want, all the information is now in this module, but if you would like to go a bit further, you can go to Resource Hub and catch, store, and use water. And there is your Water Research Commission resources. And if you have a look, you will see that there's all the information that you need. There's a navigation tool that we will be looking at, resources. We've got all the literature, and here we have handouts that also explains all of the different rainwater harvesting methods that you can then utilize in your training or integrate into your curriculum. All right, so let's go to the cortex. So the cortex is how do people learn? So first of all, if you would like to download, you can download it here. Click on this button and download it. So how do people learn? It is very important to recognize that different people learn in different ways. We cannot just assume that everyone learns in the same way. We need to develop an educational and training programs in ways that are appropriate for their intended audiences. So this is very important when you are looking at integrating the rainwater harvesting practices into your curricula or in your training program. So we look at the key teachings and learning methods in agriculture. So the presentation 2.1, methods and approaches. So we go here, the key teachings and learning methods in agriculture. We've got reading text, listening to talks, lectures, radio programs, attending presentations, attending workshops, viewing moving images such as television or videos and YouTube, viewing still images such as photographs and artwork, reading information such as the WRC materials, talking with the peers and colleagues. So that's where we develop our learning networks, observation and practical activities and demonstrations, involvement in practical activities and experimentation. And that is very important, the practical side of learning, but I think we all know that. Sources of information and knowledge. Textbook, manuals, internet, TV, radio, training courses and materials, journals, magazines, newspapers, college and university lecturers, extension services, NGOs, family, friends, and college. So you can get your information and knowledge from various resources. So the facilitation manual of a water harvesting conservation materials is based on the following participatory agricultural development approaches. So we've got different approaches: the agricultural extension participatory approach that focuses on expressed needs of a farmers groups, and its goal is increase production and improve quality of rural life. Implementation is often decentralized and flexible. The participatory innovation development, promoting local innovations in ecological-oriented agriculture and natural resource management. And then lastly, the participatory technology development, PTD, involves collaboration between researchers and farmers in the analysis of agricultural problems and testing of alternative farming practices. So the agricultural water use for homestead gardening materials involve a cycle learning participatory process where we plan and act, observe, and reflect. So this is very important to remember that is the process of learning that we do. Learning in actions agenda, learning through training and experimentation, situation analysis, and learning needs. The critical aspects of learning and teaching approaches. So to encourage the active involvement of both learners and trainees in development implementation of a learning processes. So what we are trying to say here is there are many different learning approaches and teaching approaches. So you don't only have to look at the content that you are integrating into your curricula or your teaching program. What you have to look at is how are you going to let your learners, participants, community members take up rainwater harvesting? How are you going to present the work, and what type of teaching methods and activities are you going to use? So here they just say social learning theory and practice. It's based on the idea that change in people's understanding can go beyond the individual to make a situated within wider social unit or communities of practice through social interactions between actors within social work. So what it just means is, if we're doing the work that we are not just teaching someone, but we are making it that it's active participation, that everybody is part of a teaching and learning process, then that is the way that people will take up the knowledge and then also share it with others in their community. All right, so then there's various activities that you can do. So activity 2.1, guided by your own experience, and presentation 2.1, consider the following questions. So then you answer these questions. You look at teaching and training and learning approaches of Water Research Commission training and learning materials. And how do we understand participation in our situation? Right, so here again is what we were looking at, the different approaches. And then from there, it's also a reflection questions. How do we understand participatory approaches in our context? Using these definitions as a guide, reflect on or discuss with others the following questions. What do you understand these approaches to mean to you? Are they appropriate approaches for you to take in your situation? What do you expect out of these approaches? And what are the major contributions each of us as lecturers, extension officers, trainees, community workers, and farmers can and should make to ensure real participatory and greatest benefits for everyone? Right, so then reviewing our teaching and training practices. So first of all, if we are looking at our curricula or our programs, we'll look at the content. What is there and what needs to be added? Links between various content components. Examine how we link any practices, maybe essential underpinning knowledge or general activities of skills. I mean, teaching and learning methods currently used. So then you have to evaluate, but how are you teaching at the moment? And what is the learning methods that you are using? And how can you maybe integrate some sustainable, more active learning methods. The forms in which information knowledge is available to learners and trainees. So also in our previous presentation, we're looking at that. What is the resources we can use, and what are the appropriate places that we can find these. So presentation 2.2 provides further information on the curriculum review process. So let's look at that. So in order to review your curriculum, you should consider, like we said, the content, links between various content components, teaching and learning methods currently used, the form in which information knowledge is available to learners and trainees. So you can look at your reflection questions that we've gone through. How do we change what we are doing to get a better alignment between the curricular and agricultural system? So the agricultural system is the system that you are linked to and working with. So in your community or in your college or university, how can you develop articulation and policy and management practices, the practical application of climate responsive rainwater harvesting conservation initiatives on campus? So that's not just on campus, that is also then on your site and in your program. What are the issues that need to be addressed to ensure transitioning towards a climate responsive informed curricula? What roles does your training program play in developing a learning network within the community and articulate an effective knowledge flow for smallholder farmers? And what roles do smallholder farmers and indigenous knowledge play in your particular subject area? And are they relevant to include with these? So these questions, basically what you are looking at is identifying what are the needs in your curriculum or training program? What are your teaching and learning methods you are using at the moment? And what do you need to change? What resources are you using? What resources are available that you will be able to utilize? Then looking at what issues you want to address and finding through these resources and new training methods a way of addressing those issues. And what role does a training program play in developing the community? So you look at identify, this comes in our activity system that we will look at right at the end of this module. And then what is everybody's roles in that? So this is really clearly, if you identify those questions, they will definitely help you to answer your assignment too. So how can you integrate new issues such as rainwater harvesting? So that's what we talked about. What is our action plan? And how do you think lecturers and staff needs training in climate responsive sustainability agricultural concepts? So these are all questions thinking of what is our resources. So there's a curriculum review tool that's also available on the site, but that is now for lecturers if they're doing review. And there's a curriculum integration tool that also used possible options for integration into college curriculum. And then you can click on the link to take you there. Drivers influencing agricultural curriculum innovation. So this is sort of with all the projects, the geographical and environmental setting of a college can affect it. Social and cultural backgrounds of students does affect, and demands of agricultural sector, environment and economy. All right, so let's go on now. So that was our activity, but we have all the questions. Power of practical. So now this next part is about the demonstration site. So here you have to develop a demonstration site. A key activity in providing practical demonstrations of rainwater harvesting and conservation practices is the development of a productive demonstration site. This is a central element in the learning, in this training of training schools. So this is the practical side. So let's look at productive demonstration site, the presentation. Importance of productive demonstration site. Yes. So it is impossible to overstate the importance of a good productive demonstration site for rainwater harvesting and conservation practices and why it's important. But there are some challenges to establish such a site. They will take considerable time and effort to develop. They will require some financial and other resources. They will have some maintenance and long-term management implications, and people involved, such as learning network members, will need to take the responsibility for their development and for their management and maintenance. However, all of you that are now enrolled in this course have a different situation. So some of you are at agricultural colleges that already has, if you already have land available that you can make a demonstration site where you can then implement the rainwater harvesting conservation methods. Otherwise, let's say you are even an agricultural teacher, you can have a small demonstration site even in your classroom. It all depends on what you are doing and what is your situation and that you are using for your case study. Okay. Well, so they say also almost all practices could be demonstrated. The most suitable are those which are easily replicated by the farmers we are working with. In most cases, this means that they should fall into the low-medium category for technology, simple tools, skills and understanding, and cost. It mustn't cost a lot. And maintenance, simple, frequent requirements. So yes, you can look at again at, here we go, here's all our examples of suitable practices, our small ponds, mulching, fertility pits, infiltration, swales, tide ridges, diversion furrows, roof water harvesting, and trench beds. So the question is, who would be in your group? So that is where we go into our activity system of looking who is going to be part of your group. So we can have, can only be you and your teachers, or it can be you and your students, or it can be you in your community garden with the group there. Basically, who will be the sporting. So we could be, right, so here we say, depending on your own workplace and work content, you have a range of different contacts. You will have a good idea who should be included in any productive demonstration site group you wish to establish. So again, the demonstration site is where you go and you demonstrate the practices, rainwater harvesting practices, and you can already take an existing site and then utilize the rainwater harvesting practices in that garden. So here they say reflection question. How important could such site be for your teaching and sharing? What might be the benefits and challenges? Do you know of a potential site? Which practices would you like to demonstrate using such a site? So again, like I said, the demonstration site can also be small and compact. It doesn't have to be a hectare. It can really be a table in a classroom even. It all depends on your context and what you want, what rainwater harvesting and conservation methods you would like to teach at that moment. So collaboration on the development of a site, value of a learning network. So here we are looking at the learning network and on what is the activity system. So what we're saying is, when we're doing active learning in a group and we are sharing our knowledge, then a learning network is created. And such a learning network is a collaborative learning. So what does it mean? A situation in which two or more people learn or attempt to learn something together. Unlike individual learning people engaged in, collaborative learning capitalizes on one another's resources and skills. Right, so that's very important. Learning networks. So learning networks is a collaborative group which shares a range of different experiences, skills, understanding, and resources with each other. So we also have different learning network groups. We have also even our WhatsApp group is a learning network. So we have a different networks at the moment that we have in the Eastern Cape, and we also have in Mpumalanga. And there's various different learning networks. Here it shows some of the activities and where they have included the different rainwater harvesting and conservation methods. A Pula network. Here we go. So that was just about our learning network. So you will, in a way, also create a learning network. And even us as the lecturers are part of your learning network. All right, so here it says curriculum and training program implications, use of Water Resource Commission materials to develop the site, planning the development of a site. Okay, so here you can go through it. It gives exactly idea of what is needed when you are planning the site. All right, so now we are going to the assignment. But before I do that, I think we need to just have a short look at something else. Because in your assignment, they talk about activity systems. And I think it's a good idea for us just to maybe share something about activity systems on that. So let's see. I was not, I only thought of it now. So just give me a, okay, here we go. Now to, okay. So here is an activity system that you will need to draw. So there's different parts of activity system. So we have our subject, that is now us, or for this one now, it's a small scale farmer. That would be, for instance, now the lecturer that's training, that is changing curriculum. So this is now you guys, the students, right? And then you have a objective. So for instance, integrating rainwater harvesting into the curricula or into training program and developing a site. So that is your objective. And then through that, what you will get, your outcome is that there will be a great demonstration site and that your curriculum program would use different teaching methods and practices and rainwater harvesting practices. Then division of labor is when everybody that's involved. So that would be you and your community members, anybody that's involved in the process. Then community of practice, dependents, other consumers, extension workers, anybody that's a bit further away. And then rules, learning networks, terms, references. So for instance, your rules is your curriculum, regulations of how much you can change in your curriculum. Otherwise, it can be your rules of even the size of your demonstration site. Any of those things are then your activity system. All right, so the next step is then our assignment, but I will make another video quickly. That will be just on the next video. Thanks.